Hey guys, so I'm about to give my Dishonored review. I beat it last night, like late, and I didn't have any time to record it yesterday, but I figured, might as well get it over with now. So it's Friday, the October 12th, alright, and I beat it yesterday on the 11th. However, you're probably not going to see this until the 13th or the 14th, probably the 14th. But anyway, yeah. So let's start off with me basically telling you guys how I got interested. As you all know, Dishonored is my most, or was my most anticipated game of 2012, for this whole year. And the reason for that being is that it looked really original. It looked like it was a really great stealth game, had a really interesting graphical style, and a pretty interesting storyline to top it all off, alright? And I went into this game with high expectations, and what I got ultimately was definitely a great experience, but it was short-lived, alright? And I'm going to, we're going to go over that, later on. So, I guess let's start off with the story first, alright? The story is, pretty much the standard fare here. You're the protector, or the bodyguard. Basically your position is Lord Protector for the Empress of this fictional city called Dunwall. And what's going on in this world is that there's this huge plague going on that they believe is carried by lots of rats, and there's rats being populated throughout the whole city, in sewers, in people's bedrooms. I mean, it's disgusting. There's rats everywhere, and these rats are deadly in packs. If you try to explore certain areas and you see a bunch of rats in packs traveling, they will literally run up to you and devour you live. And there's this one scene at the beginning of the game where you're sneaking above this this vent, and you look down, and all of a sudden a bunch of guards get jumped by rats and they get eaten alive. And there's this horrible disease that's going around that's making people sick. Basically, it's a huge fatal plague, and they just can't seem to get rid of it at all. So you just returned from somewhere overseas, alright? You just returned to the city to give the Empress bad news about the plague. And you give her bad news. Long story short, something happens, a bunch of people pop out of nowhere, and they assassinate the Empress, basically right in front of your eyes, right? And you're doing everything you can to protect her, but they kind of push you up into this corner of this gazebo, and you're sitting there and you're just kind of stuck here, you can't move, and you just see this guy stab the Empress and take her daughter with them. So the Empress is dead and her daughter's been kidnapped, alright? Well, it turns out that all the guards came up right after all this happened, and they saw you holding the Empress, and basically said, okay, well, you killed her, right? And they just immediately point the finger and say, you killed the Empress, you're the blame, and we're about to persecute you for what you've done, alright? So you get put in jail, and you get a letter by an anonymous friend, and they break you out of prison, basically give you the key to your jail cell, and you have to sneak or fight your way out of prison. So that's how the story starts off. But to be honest, the story isn't the main focus here, and the developer said that the story is not the main focus of it. They believe that the story is not the main focus of any game, that it's all about the gameplay. In my opinion, both story, graphics, and gameplay, there has to be a balance there. When I play a game, when I purchase a game, I immediately want to play it for its story, because I'm a story person. I prefer story over multiplayer because I like to experience something. I would like to be told, this great adventure and then be, involved in the characters and really feel that emotional connection. So the story is good, don't get me wrong. It's not like your basic, okay, not developed character story. It's really well done, actually. They have a lot of unique characters here, and that's where the game excels most well, because the characters are the most unique thing about this whole game. They all have keep in mind, this game is supposed to be like an 18th, 19th century British style to it, undergoing an industrial revolution. It's more kind of like steampunk, but everything's powered by whale oil. So you the characters in the game, you know, are all really unique. There's a lot of people you're gonna be interacting with, and they all just have a really interesting background and personal story to them that really makes you want to talk and delve deeper into their character. There's this one, and this is throughout like the whole game. You know, all the characters. There isn't one particular character where I said, "Oh, that person felt like he was just added just for, you know, comic relief or something stupid like that." They all have a general purpose for this storyline, which is perfect. And what's really interesting is that the developers actually said that they took pictures from construction workers and people that were living in that era, the 18th, 19th century, and they modeled their faces after that. So those are actually modeled by real people, you know? It's pretty interesting that they did that, and they, like I said, they all have this interesting style to them, and these really interesting names, these interesting positions that you want to learn more about. It's just an all-around interesting game. You know, you're gonna want to find out more about this city, which is pretty much the main thing, is that this city just begs you to explore, and there's so much little areas and doors and abandoned buildings and stuff like that that you just really want to go into. And even though nothing may be in there, you might, you know, still see like propaganda posted up or some graffiti and some clues as to what happened there before it was completely abandoned or destroyed. So the city and the overall story, like, it really is interesting. It begs you to explore and find out more about it, which you're gonna actually do throughout your playthrough of the game. This game has a lot of reading. If you're the type of person that doesn't like reading, you're probably not going to get as involved into the world and the story as you may want to, because the actual reading and the notes and the little documents that they leave lying around that you can read, all that is really important to the overall story and the environment as well. So for example, you'll basically, if you want to find out more about the rat plague, there's a couple letters that you'll find around the world that you'll just see paragraphs. The paragraphs, it's like a page or something like that of completely the back history of the rat plague. And now you know, okay, now the rat plague started because of this reason, and this is how it came into Dunwall, and this is where it's going throughout the world. And it really makes you feel like you're, you know, really there. And that's the great thing about this game, is that you really do feel like you're involved in this world that a lot of games can't really, you know, say. A lot of these games take place in this weird, you know, place, but they don't develop it. You know, it doesn't have a backstory, so it feels fake. It doesn't feel like it's an actual thing. So, but this game took a chance with its fictional city, and it nailed it because it got the backstory perfect. It got the problem that it's having that you'll be able to read more on if you really want to do so, and then it's just got a really interesting culture to it. So, for that. As far as the story goes, that's what's the most interesting about it, is the environment. The graphics. Now here I see a lot of mixed feelings on. I played the PC version, so really most of the problems that people are saying as far as graphics, I can't really address because it didn't really happen to me, but there is something I do want to mention, is that I see a lot of people on machinima videos and IGN basically calling this game has bad graphics, like it's supposed to be on a competing level with Crysis or Battlefield 3, you know? People are saying, oh, bad graphics equals bad game. It's like, let me tell you something. Graphics help immerse you into the experience. They matter in a game, they definitely do, alright? But they're not the sole, it's not the sole purpose of what a game is supposed to be made from, you know? I appreciate a good-looking game, but if I was to take a good-looking game with a half-assed story and just decent gameplay versus a game that doesn't look as, you know, great as some of the others, but has a really good story and really good gameplay, I would choose the one with a really good story and gameplay. You know, graphics help you immerse yourself into the experience and nothing more. That's what they're there for, alright? So this game, I see a lot of people complain bad graphics equals bad game, alright? This game has an art style. It's a graphical style. It's not supposed to be on a competing level with Crysis 2. It's not supposed to be competing with DirectX 11 effects and tessellation and all that crap with Battlefield 3. It's not supposed to be on a competing level with those high-end games and graphics. It's not supposed to, you know, envy Uncharted, alright? This is a graphical style. It's supposed to do what it does for the type of style that this game is. And the graphical style nails it, in my opinion. It's a very interesting combination between shell-shaded and like a painting, for instance. I was watching the IGN review, and the guy said it's like an oil painting in motion, and that's essentially what it looks like. It looks like this beautifully crafted, hand-painted world, and it's just, you get to explore all the nooks and crannies of it. Now there is something mentioned, like I played it on PC, so a lot of people on consoles are saying, well, when you go up to a certain objects or a bunch of objects in the game, they don't look as beautifully rendered, so you don't know if it's supposed to look like that or if it's not supposed to look like that. There wasn't any instance during my playthrough where I stopped myself and said, wow, that looks like crap. Or I said, or I just didn't think the game looked particularly good in any area. This game has some of the best water effects I've ever seen in any game, alright? Even though it is shell-shaded, the water effects are gorgeous. We're talking like dynamic, real-time reflections on the environment. Some beautifully crafted volumetric lighting effects with light shafts that really just peek their way through corners and really blind you. It's a beautifully crafted world from the art direction. And a lot of people, again, it's an art direction. It's not supposed to be on a competing level with those games. So why people are saying, oh, it doesn't look as good as Christ, it's just beyond me. It's just stupid. It shows that they obviously don't know about the graphical standpoint of games enough to determine what a game's actually supposed to look like. It's like saying Borderlands 2 has bad graphics. It's supposed to look like that. It's supposed to be that shell-shaded, cartoony look. It's not supposed to be competing with Crysis or any of those other high-end looking games like Uncharted, Gears of War, or, you know, etc. So, the graphics are good. They're really good. I really love the art direction. They really nail it spot on. Like I said, it's a perfect combination between a steampunk but like an 18th, 19th century British style to it. It's awesome, and again, you're gonna want to explore it just because it's just so immersive, you know, even though it's a cartoonish experience. So that's my feelings on the graphics. Now gameplay, which is the main focus of this game, probably the reason why everyone's going to buy it. The gameplay. This game is following the trend of many other games that are starting to come back to. It's allowing you to play it how you want to play it. This game is going to remind you of 3 different games. It's going to remind you of the first BioShock, and that's because of the environments and the experience in this city. It's like nothing you have ever seen before. Similar to how BioShock had this experience with Rapture, and it was just so, you know, incredible, and you wanted to explore the city. You're going to get the same feeling with Dunwall in Dishonored. It's going to remind you of Deus Ex, and the reason is that it's going to really borrow from that ability to play how you want to play. You can either play it stealthily or all action, similar to Deus Ex Human Revolution that released last year. And the stealth is really good, might I say. This is, in terms of stealth games, this is definitely in the top 3, if not, you know, number 1 for the best stealth game I've ever played. It's amazing. There's a bunch of different ways to sneak around to enemies, either from going below them, above them, to the side. It's amazing. Anywhere you think you can go in this world, you can go. If you think you can climb that building, you probably can. So, in terms of stealth games, this is like at the top of its genre here. It really is beautiful in terms of you know, gameplay and the whole stealth. It just works really well. So, perfect. And then it's going to remind you of Assassin's Creed. The reason is that, as you can see, your main protagonist here, he's an assassin, really, but he has a bunch of magical powers similar to like BioShock, you know, with the tonics and the what do they call them in BioShock again? Plasmids, the plasmids. So, but yeah, it's going to remind you of Assassin's Creed because you can walk on rooftops, you can assassinate people from afar. There's a bunch of different gadgets you have, and of course, you know, look, your character has like a little robe thing, a little coat that's kind of similar to what any of the assassins wear in the Assassin's Creed video games. So, even though it's going to remind you of all these games, you're still going to get a pretty original experience, and that's what I love. A lot of people these days, and I just never got this, but a lot of people seem to be complaining that the market is oversaturated. There's too many first-person shooters out there. There's no originality left. Gaming's becoming, you know, boring, and nothing's being made originally anymore. Like, what do? Yet when something original comes out, no one buys it. Why would you complain that there's nothing original in gaming and then when something original comes out, you don't buy it. You procrastinate, and then you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go get Halo 4, it's gonna be better anyway. Before you even played it. I mean, it's stupid. Why complain about something, even though you're not gonna get it in the first place? You know, even though you can. So it's just stupid. Like, people complain, there's no originality anymore. Originality comes out, no one buys it. You know, it just. I saw a lot. The reason I say this is because I saw a lot of people on the comments and stuff saying, "Well, I'm still on the fence about it. I don't know if I want to get it." And then I was at GameStop recently, just looking around, right? And this guy went up to the guy, the clerk, the store guy, and he said, "Oh, have you heard about or what do you think about Dishonored?" Right? And the guy's like telling about it, and then the guy who asked the clerk about it, he said, "Oh yeah, it's probably not going to be as good as Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed 3 is going to be so much better," right? And then the store clerk said, "Well, actually, Dishonored surpassed Assassin's Creed in pre-orders. You know, if you want to, if that changes your mind at all." And it kind of surprised me too. I was like, wow, you know, because this game became like top 3 on the Steam sales charts like weeks before its release. So this game sold. All right, it did sell. It's just that I see a lot of people who are still complaining, you know, there is no originality, but they still don't get this game, or they don't get any games like it. You know, it's like, if support original games, because by you supporting and purchasing these games, it's gonna let developers know, yes, it's okay to take a chance. It's okay to put something original out there that no one's ever done before. We like that. We like that risk, and we do like that risk, but we gotta show it by buying these games. All right, so. The problems with Dishonored, very few problems. In fact, the biggest problem is probably it isn't really that big of a deal. The biggest problem doesn't have anything to do with gameplay, graphics, or the story. The biggest problem with this game is the length of the game. I was done in this game in 2 days. In fact, let me look up my playtime, because Steam actually does track your playtime. This game reminds me of a movie I saw last week called Taken 2. Great movie. It was a sequel that was unnecessary. Hey, can I call you back in a bit? Yeah, can I call you back in a quick sec? Just a little bit. Alright, bye. Alright, excuse me. Alright, so Steam load up. But this reminded me of a movie I saw last week, Taken 2. It was a sequel that wasn't necessary, but was actually good. What was the biggest problem with Taken 2? The fact that it was only an hour and 30 minutes long. It was only 90 minutes long. It's like, that movie left you wanting more. So I played a total of... where is it? Where's my profile? I gotta go... I barely even use Steam for, like, anything. My profile there. I played Dishonored for 12.2 hours. It took me 12.2 hours to beat this game. And keep in mind, I'm a stealth person. I was exploring a lot. 12.2 hours. Surprised me. I got done with this game and I'm like, oh, I want so much more. You want so much more of this game. It sucks because you beat it and you're like, damn, I just wanted to play it for at least 12 more hours. If it was 25 hours long, that would have been fine. That would have been perfect. But you want so much more of the game. You want so much more of the gameplay. You want so much more of the world. So much more for the story to continue. And it just ends in 12.2 hours on a stealth playthrough. Keep in mind, you're sitting, you're waiting, you're listening to conversations. I was reading, I was doing everything I could possibly do. I did all the side missions to complete my missions, and I beat it in 12.2 hours. I mean, on my first playthrough. So, that's the biggest problem with Dishonored. The fact that it's short-lived. And also that the story, the ending to the story is underwhelming. It gives an ending to a story. It's not like some of those games that are like, oh, what do we do now? And it just ends the story completely. This actually does give an ending, and it changes depending on your playstyle. And, you know, it's not one of those games, it's not like Deus Ex Human Revolution where you have choices, and no matter how many people you killed or what you did, you can choose any of those choices. In this game, you actually have to play this game either by not killing anyone or by killing a very few amount of people, by causing low chaos, they call it. That'll get you a light ending, or by causing a lot of chaos, which will give you a darker ending. If you want to experience the darker ending, you're gonna have to play through this game again, which is nice because your choices actually do affect the storyline. But it's over just so quick. I mean, 12.2 hours, that's a good length, you know, like for a linear game, that's like a really good length. But for this game with choice, it's short. And the thing is, you just want so much more, and it's unfortunate. And I hope Arcane Studios, I really hope Arcane Studios sits there and puts out at least 2 or 3 DLCs, because we need DLC for this game. There needs to be a story DLC for this game. There really does, because the endings just kind of like, okay. It's not that satisfying. It doesn't make you, it isn't like this horrible twist that you're like just, this is so amazing. It's not like this horrible twist like Binary Domain had. It's not anything like that. It's just an ending. And it's just, it just isn't that well done. The endings just like, basically you complete the mission, the last mission, like you would any other mission, and then that's the ending. There's like, there's not a boss fight. There's not this huge thing where you're gonna have to turn against everyone. It's not anything like that. It's just, it ends, gives you a sub-satisfying story ending to the story, and it's over in 12.2 hours, and you just want so much more when you're done with it. So that's all I have to say about Dishonored. It's a great game. Definitely one of the best this year. Definitely one of the best games in terms of stealth this generation. All right. However, the only thing that's holding it back is this, is that the fact that the game's short, it's a short-lived, amazing experience, and the fact that the ending to the story isn't that all satisfying. Really, it doesn't make you go like, oh, wow, what a great story. It's just like, oh, okay, I'm done. That's how you're gonna feel. Okay, so I'm gonna give Dishonored a 9. I would like to give it a 9.5 if it was at least 6 hours longer, and had a more satisfying conclude. This game could have been a 10. It could have, because the gameplay was that fun. This definitely should not be overlooked by any people. However, for a 12.2 hour length, this would be the perfect rental for a weekend. However, I still insist that you buy it because it is an original game, and you are going to want to keep playing it over and over and over again once you complete. And I hope Arcane Studios, please, I hope you make some DLC for this game, because I really want to experience more of this world, and I'm sure a lot of us do. So that's it for Dishonored review. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later. Let me know what you thought about the game once you completed it, and have a good day.